then we'll get started. So anyways, again, welcome. I am glad that you were able to join me this evening after a long day at work. And I know how tired you must be, so I really, really do appreciate it. My name is Cindy Chang, and I am the education professional over computer science with the Nevada Department of Education. And there's been a lot happening at the legislative level and at the state department regarding computer science initiatives that stem from a bill that was put into law this last June, Senate Bill 200. So what I'd like to do is pretty much go over that bill and explain the changes that have come about because of that bill and how that impacts us in our districts and our classrooms. So that's what I'll be talking about today. So here's kind of an outline of how I'm going to approach this. So I'll start with some background history so you can see how we got to where we are. I'll talk about Senate Bill 200 and the requirements that were put into law, funding and the computer science initiatives, how these can be implemented in our schools, computer science pathways, so suggested pathways. There's going to be some upcoming changes to teacher endorsements and licensing, so I'm going to talk about those so you're aware. And then I'm going to provide some resources to you, and then we're going to talk about upcoming revisions to the technology standards that we have. Okay, so once again, I'll remind you at any time if you have a question, please unmute your mic. Go ahead and just say, hey, Cindy, I have a question. This is very informal, or you're welcome to type in the chat as well. Looks like we have a few more folks that have come on and join us. Hi, Donna, welcome. All right, so let's continue on. So a little bit of history with our computer science initiatives. So back in 2015, the K-12 computer science framework development began. This framework was part of this overall national movement in education that folks have noticed that we lack computer science education. We have been very good at our technology education and getting our students prepared with the technological needs, using them in the classroom, showing them how to do the productivity tools, typing, and so forth. But we'll go into more detail of how we need to up that a little bit more with the changes that are happening in society. So with this development, it brought this framework, it brought folks from K-12, higher ed, researchers, industry, and so forth throughout the nation that built this framework. And the framework is basically to help states and districts inform standards, instruction, and implementation. And one thing I like to point out is Nevada had a computer science team, a task force at that time that was part of this framework development. And so we've been in from the very beginning, which is a nice thing to know. There were not a whole lot of states, a handful of states that were on board with computer science at that time, and so Nevada's been one of the forerunners. In 2016, the National K-12 Computer Science Framework was published, and you can go out to, you can either Google K-12 Computer Science Framework or go to k12cs.org, I believe is the link, and you can read about that. Also in 2016, Nevada joined the National ESEP Alliance, that's Expanding Computer Education Pathways. And this national alliance of states, which is growing because more and more states are joining this alliance, but we were a part of it from the beginning, and it has allowed us to connect with the other states who are integrating computer science. And it has, whoops, hello, you might have to, that's okay, just mute your mic a little bit. it has allowed us to access resources that we wouldn't have normally had the opportunity to do that. So reaching out with other researchers, other states, sharing best practices, and things such as that has been crucial to helping us move the work along. We actually received a grant, our first grant from the ESEP Alliance, to create our K-12 computer science standards. So they have been an outstanding resource for us. In May of last year, the Department of Education in Nevada recognized that we needed a point person, a position at the department level to help facilitate organizing all of these initiatives going through. That's the position that I currently hold. And it has been a whirlwind, let me just tell you. But it's been a very exciting time to be a part of this movement. In June of last year, Senate Bill 200 was signed by Governor Brian Sandoval and put into law at that time. And I'm going to go over what those changes are that were put into place. Also, last summer in July, the task force I mentioned before that was a part of putting that framework together, through the bill, Senate Bill 200 officially became the Computer Science Subcommittee, and they are under the Governor's Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology. So they have a home and an advisory role on a lot of the initiatives moving forward. Also in July of last year, the National CSTA standards were announced. That's Computer Science Teachers Association, well recognized in providing standards in computer science for education. So they put those national standards out, and those were built on the framework that was put together in 2015. In August of last year, Nevada wrote their K-12 computer science standards, and those were developed with a team of folks from all grade levels, even higher ed, all throughout the districts in the state. So it was well represented. And those were built off of the national CSTA standards, which in turn were built on the framework. So you can see that we've had these building blocks working together to help us put that into place. In September of last year, professional development began for computer science discoveries, which is at the middle school, and computer science principles, which is at the high school. We also have a computer science fundamentals training that's actually been going on in the state for just about 4 years now. So we have been providing professional development for our folks for a while. In December of last year, that FY18 funding allocations went out. One of the things that Senate Bill 200 has provided is funding for the biennium. So we have this fiscal year 18, and then we have another allocation that I'll talk about in a minute that's coming out for FY19. In January of this year, the K-12 computer science standards were approved by the Nevada State Board. So when you go out to the sites that I'm going to show you in just a moment, they will say draft and proposed on them because they are still going through the process of the regulatory changes to put them into to statute, which should be completed at the state board meeting in June. So, but they are in their district-friendly format, and they won't change, so you can inform your instruction based on those standards. And then last month, in March, at the COPS workshop, that's the Commission on Professional Standards that sets licensing and so forth, they approved changes to move forward on the computer science endorsements that I'll talk about also in a minute. And then this month, our FY19 funding allocation process began, and I'll show you what that's going to look like as well. So that's our history. All right, so our mission for our CS for Nevada, Computer Science for Nevada, initiatives is to provide engaging and rigorous computer science education for all Nevada students, regardless of their age, their race, gender, disability, socioeconomic level, or what school they attend, and to prepare them for a wide variety of post-secondary experiences and careers in this digital age. So they will become not only consumers of technology, but creators of it. So being secondary educators, you kind of know our history already. We've had computer science in Nevada at least as long as I know, because I've been teaching it since 2006, and I'm sure that we've had it long before that. But it was on an elective basis. Students could choose if they wanted to go on that pathway and learn computer science concepts. And that may have been their first exposure to computer science coursework at that high school level. And the goal now is that it is accessible to all at a foundational level, so that our students are more prepared for the age that they live in right now. And I'll talk more about that on 2 more slides. But our vision for our students is that they're informed citizens who can have a public discussion on computer science topics, that they have a foundational understanding of how things work, and that they are able to engage in these discussions on a national level as well. That they develop as learners and users and creators of computer science knowledge and artifacts, and that they better understand the role of computing in the world around them. This is really, really important. We know, especially as secondary teachers, that our students are very adept at using their devices, even when they're not supposed to in the classroom. They can send those Snapchats faster than I can even say boo. But they have no idea necessarily on full scale how that image that they're sending gets out to all of their friends on their list. And more importantly, they think it disappears, when we know in fact it doesn't. And so just having that basic knowledge of how this computing works, that they're immersed in, is going to be huge, because I can guarantee you they wouldn't be sending out some of the things that they send out if they really knew what was going on under the cover. The last item there is that they learn and perform and express themselves in other subjects and interests. Technology is not going away. We are in the digital age. It touches pretty much every career path that interests these students, any subject area that they want to study, post-secondary, pretty much anything that they go into. And this will help them better understand how automotive technology works if they choose to go into that field, or even in agriculture. I mean, we've got the lettuce bot is out there right now, transforming the way we grow our plants. So it is very, very vital that they have this basic understanding. So I hear this all the time. Oh, yeah. Robots are going to replace all jobs. Well, no, they're not. They are increasingly replacing a lot, though. I would say that one thing confidently I can say is that on some level, routine, repetitive, and predictable jobs are at the most risk of being replaced by technology. The face-to-face, empathy, human-to-human interactions that we have with people, robots cannot replace at all. But these other situations that our students are going to be faced with in jobs that we don't even know because they haven't been created yet, will have a component of technology. That I can definitively say. And it's going to require a new skill set that our students have above and beyond just how to use the computer. So Nevada's trying to do their job in preparing our students for the learning computer science today, and then so they'll be better prepared for using it tomorrow and in their future. One of the things that I also hear a lot too is that we do test our students a lot, and that is a known fact. As I'm talking to the elementary educators, they are testing quite a bit as well. One of the things that in Senate Bill 200, Section 3, the impetus for that was to provide an equity of access for computer technology education for our students. That's why that section has actually moved the computer ed tech that we normally had at the high school half-credit graduation that's typically taught in middle school around 6th grade level. They've actually moved that prior to 6th grade in this bill, because what happens here is there's not an equity of testing for our students. Like, for example, are we really testing our young students on their content knowledge, or are we testing them on their ability to successfully use a mouse or interact with a computer? Because if you have a young child who has access to devices and computers in their home and uses them all the time versus a student coming from another maybe perhaps lower economic region or area or family situation that does not have that, then we're talking about an inequitable access. And so that was the impetus for Section 3 and the changes to push that technology education prior to 6th grade so that they can have a sustained exposure and practice over time with this technology so that they can be more successful overall. Do we have any questions up to this point? One question, does that mean that computer literacy will no longer be a required 6th grade class? Josie, I'm going to get into that and how it will still be around, but it's going to be changed a bit, and so I'll talk about the changes that are coming to that. Thank you for that question. Actually, I'm going to jump into that right now. On this slide, I have 3 links on here, and by the way, I will provide these slides to you. They will be on the STEM Hub site. That's this last one, and I'll walk you through that so you know where to find it. So this first link is to the official Senate Bill 200 document in its entirety, if you'd like to read through that. The second link is on the Nevada Department of Education site, and that is right here. I'll bring that up. So if you go to the department site, Educators, Nevada Academic Content Standards, and then choose Computer Science, you'll get to this page. This is actually the standards page, so let me go back one page for you. Here we go. So it'll look like this. So it's got my information. We have the content standards for computer science and for computer technology, and then other links there. The Senate Bill 200 link here will give you a brief overview by section. And you'll notice these effective dates are kind of all over the place. So what I did is on the Nevada STEM Hub site, which is that second link, I am gathering resources here, informational and so forth for our teachers and for our admin and our district leads. So this is like the CS for everything for Nevada. But I've got pages there for students. There's educators, which I'll talk about in a minute when it's talking about licensing. There's a page there that will be built out for industry, resources, events that are coming up, and then state advocacy. And I'm going to go on this page here real quick. Okay, so what I did here is I took the bill and the changes and everything, and instead of doing them by section like I did on the department site, I broke them down by effective date. So you can kind of see the changes as they're coming and when they're required to take place. So I thought that would be most helpful. So for example, so last year, last July 1st, these things became effective. So a student may count the following courses for a 4th year math or 3rd year science graduation requirement. And these are the courses: an AP computer science course, a CTE computer science course, or a CS course from an approved community college or university. But they must have already passed their math and science courses that require an end of course exam. So what this is saying is, if you have a student who's a senior and they somewhere in the course of their 4 years they took AP Computer Science principles, for example, they must, in order to be able to count that for a fourth year math, they must have taken all of their math courses that require an end of course. So their Algebra 1, their geometry, I would recommend up to Algebra 2 personally, in order for them to count that. Otherwise, for math, otherwise they would have to, they would have the option to count it for their third year science. Okay, so that's what that is saying. That was effective last July. The next one, computer science must count as a math or science credit towards the requirements for the Millennium Scholarship. Okay, so that went into effect. And these two are very important for your counselors to know, because they're the ones that work closely with your students and putting them in the correct courses and so forth. I will say that when it comes to this counting as the fourth year math, if your students are working towards the STEM seal for graduation because they want to go into a future STEM career, they may not count computer science as a fourth year math. They must take all 4 years of math. If they're going into a STEM career, to be honest with you, they need to get up through that calculus in order to be the most successful post-secondary with engineering, computer science, for example. Okay. What also became effective is what I mentioned before, the creation of the Computer Science Subcommittee, being a part of the Governor's STEM Advisory Council. And there's a link there to the board members that currently sit on that. The last fiscal year 18 appropriations, you can see, are listed there from the grant, $700,000 to Clark, $100,000 to Washoe, and then $200,000 for the rurals and charters. They can apply, the rurals and charters can apply in a non-competitive grant allocation manner. And this is how those appropriations came out based on what they requested and how the grant was divided up. All right, so effective this coming July 1st, and now we'll get into Josie's question about the computer literacy. So this first one, before beginning 6th grade, all students required to receive instruction in computer education and technology. So once again, what I mentioned before, the lawmakers noticed this inequity and made a decision to move this before beginning 6th grade. This computer education and technology, this CET, let me go back to my slides. I'm going to go forward a little bit here and let me explain something. So, So we have this computer education and technology. You'll see that in the bill. What's that referring to is this main subject area right here. So it's called the Nevada Computer Education and Technology. In the past, we have only had the K-12 technology standards that was associated with the computer education and technology subject area. But what the bill did, and you probably know them as the ISTE standards because they were built off of the ISTE standards. But what the bill did, and you'll see as it becomes effective, is it then added computer science and computational thinking to the computer education and technology subject area. So now these two go hand in hand underneath this umbrella. And computer science standards being built off the CSTA National, and the K-12 technology being built off the ISTE National. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense there. Let me go back here. Okay, so the second one here, effective July 1st this summer, the half-credit high school graduation requirement must contain 50% of the current productivity tools instructions that it currently has. You've got your keyboarding, your word processing, spreadsheets, presentations, your Google Apps for Education and so forth. That's basically what I was saying, the use of the technology, the using of it. And it's introduced 50% of the computer science and the computational thinking. So the creating of the technology. You have the use and the creating together forming that computer education technology subject area. And so that becomes effective July 1st. So that would affect your what is going to be shortly formally called the computer literacy course, and I'll talk about that in a minute as of the name change. But that would affect that. It's not that it's going away, but it will be enhanced to account for that other leg of the umbrella. Does that make sense, Josie? I hope I explained that clear enough. The third one, it shows the allocations for this next FY19, the appropriations there. $800,000 to Clark, $200,000 for Washoe, and then the rurals and charters increase, they doubled to $400,000. So these funds are available for our schools and our districts to help implement the requirements that are being put forth in this bill. And I'll talk about a minute of the rollout on that, because that's currently in the process right now. Effective July 1st, computer science and computer education and technology professional development needs to take place. As I stated, this is already in progress, so we are ahead of the game on that as well. This one, effective July 1st, adds computer science and computational thinking to the computer ed tech standards. Again, we have those standards written. We are ahead of our deadline for that as well. Those have already become part of the standards, and they will go before the state board in June for the final regulatory phase. Oh, sure. Tony is asking where on the website tab I am right now. I am on the state advocacy. So if you go up to the head menu on here, down to state advocacy, and then you go down to effective date, this coming July 1st, 2018. Thank you. Okay. And then lastly, the last effective item here for this coming July is that the department, in consultation with that CS subcommittee, will review all instruction and make recommendations to the Nevada State Board on such instruction. Basically make sure that it's in alignment with the standards and so forth. Currently, the approved computer science curriculum by the State Board to date includes the Code.org suite, the CS Fundamentals for the elementary, CS Discoveries for middle school, and CS Principles for high school. If there's other curriculum, such I know that Project Lead the Way is used in many schools outside of computer science. They now have an offering for that, I understand. So if there's some other curriculum that would like to be considered, then you just have to go through your district and make sure that they go through the process to with the state to have it examined to see if it's aligned with the standards and so forth, so that you can have curriculum that can inform your instruction. As far as CTE, the computer science pathway is concerned right now, they are going to be revamping theirs soon, rewriting their standards and reorganizing their courses so that they're in alignment with this, the overall K through 12 computer science. And I will show you kind of like a suggested pathway of what that'll look like in just a minute, and we can talk about that as well. So the next effective date in the bill is for 2020. And that's basically saying that a state board approved computer science course, so what I mentioned before, a CTE pathway, AP, computer science course, etc., can count towards college admissions as a third-year science or fourth-year math beyond Algebra 2. Okay, so an NSHE institution will have to recognize the CS credit to meet admissions qualifications for either math or science. And then again, if they are students going for the STEM seal at graduation, they cannot substitute computer science for a higher math class. They need to take that higher math. Okay. This was pushed to 2020 to give our higher ed institutions chances to get their systems in alignment with that. And then finally, in July 1st, 2022, this is also affecting the secondary level. All public high schools, charter schools, and university schools for profoundly gifted students must offer a state board approved computer science course. This may be an online offering. In addition to that, all of the schools mentioned above must also make efforts to increase enrollment of girls, students with disabilities, and underrepresented minorities in the field of computer science as identified by the state board. So basically what this means is all, high schools need to offer this by 2022. What I am seeing in the districts, both Clark and Washoe, for sure, that a lot of our high schools are now offering the AP Computer Science Principles course as that course right here that would satisfy this requirement. And if it's offered to all freshmen, which a lot of them are doing, that's their freshman course, then it also satisfies the second one, because if all are taking it, then you have already increased your enrollment of girls, students with disabilities, and underrepresented minorities, and etc. So they're kind of taking a 2-for-1 right there. On the subject of the AP Computer Science course, one thing that I want to mention about this is it's not your traditional AP course. I've been teaching AP for over 11 years with the district, and it's typically where you have a prior teacher who refers a student who excels in a particular subject area into that AP course for the next year. And you would never dream of putting a freshman in an AP course, right? But this is different. This is a foundational course that is for all students. You don't need to excel in it. It is for everyone to take. It's that foundation of computer science fundamental principles that all students need to have in order to, like I've already talked about, in order to live and understand this computing digital world around them. I encourage you to go out and take a look at that coursework. On College Board, there's many different courses, curriculum available for that, as well as the code.org curriculum that I spoke of that the state already recognizes. And I'll talk about PD in just a moment. But so that's what I've seen a lot of schools are doing to satisfy both of those. Let's jump down here to the tab on this half credit course, and I'll explain that title there. So there's some updates, obviously, because of the requirement for the half credit course to infuse the 50% instruction of computer science and computational thinking in addition to the productivity tools. So one of the updates is to change the name of that course to, I think currently it is use of computers in regulatory statute. I believe computer literacy is used as a title in the districts, but changing the name of that to computer science and applications. What this does is it's more in alignment with obviously the content that's being taught, but then it's also in alignment with the licensure endorsement for this course to be taught. So, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So what the proposed changes are, in addition to the name, is that this new computer science and applications name, former computer literacy course, must include the following concepts: computer applications, so our presentation, word processing, spreadsheet, all the things we've currently been teaching, digital citizenship, which we've currently been teaching, and then computer science and computational thinking, including algorithms and programming, computing systems, data and analysis, impacts of computing, and networks in the internet. These 5 concept areas are on the standards, which if you haven't looked at them already, I'll go over in just a minute. The other change that I mentioned about the 50% computer science and computational thinking is to be changed inside this section here, and that's in NAC 389-664. And notice it hasn't changed as far as the middle school. This course of study can still be taught during 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. If they have it in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, so in middle school for most of our districts, the pupil is not required to take the course of study in high school. Okay, I know that I see quite a bit where the student has satisfied this requirement in middle school, yet they still have to take it over again in high school, which one, isn't fair to the student. They've already received that credit, and 2, it's not really fair to the teacher either, because they're most likely not going to be on their best behavior because they've already had it before. So if they've had it in middle school, they should not be taking it again in high school. All right. So one note on this half credit course, the K-12 computer science standards and the K-12 technology standards will be used to frame the concepts to be taught in this half credit course. Obviously, we cannot use all standards in both of those, so there will be a subset that will be pulled to create this course. And it will be basically, if you have a course that your district decides to build for this half credit, then they, as long as they satisfy that subset of standards, then they're good to go. Okay, let's see. Once again, this is a graduation requirement, right? This is a half credit course. So even though it is primarily being taught in the middle school, the standards that will be comprising this course will be primarily high school standards. However, in the area of the computer science, there will be some middle school standards that will be brought in as well for consistency and bridging the skill and knowledge necessary to reach that high school level. They're currently under advisement with that computer science subcommittee that I mentioned, and those will be put forth shortly, and then I'll be able to make those available so your districts can start informing their development of your courses, and then also that you will have access to it so you can start thinking of that as well. And I'll talk about some resources for that. Okay, and the question was, when is this effective that needs to start? Back when we were on the state advocacy under effective date July 1st, 2018, the second one right here. So this July is when that becomes effective according to the law. So I know that our district curriculum folks are aware of this, and I do believe, I know at least in Clark and in Washoe, they're working on building that course out. Okay, so you should have that shortly. Please reach out to your district folks for that. Are there any other questions on this portion before I get into licensing? You're welcome. I know that was a big chunk of information. Please feel free to jump in at any time and put your questions in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to go back up to, okay, let's see here. Will 8th graders right now be eligible to miss the 9th grade to miss the 9th grade computer literacy course. I'm not sure what you mean about miss it. They have to have that half credit course at some point, and until this goes through the effective July 1st. So if you had an 8th grader who maybe had it in 6th grade, they're okay. If they haven't had it yet and you were planning on them having it in 9th grade, then they'll have it in 9th grade at that point, but they won't miss it. One thing I want to point out is, as systems change and align, like our CTE pathway, for example, and things such as this, the computer literacy, quote, computer science and applications course, over the next year or so, things will be a little rocky as they're coming together. So I view it as, if you can teach our students anything moving forward that is somewhat in alignment with what the bill is saying, and really the underlying message that they get this computer science instruction, the fundamentals, then you're going to be good to go. So yeah, there'll be some transition period, of course. But if you can just kind of work through it, hold on, and do your best. Okay. There are no drop-down choices under advocacy, but there are in other tabs. That was one of the questions. Yeah, when you're on this main menu up here, one thing I want to point out is this is the governor's STEM Hub site overall, and the Office of OSIT was so gracious to give us a home for our computer science since we fall under STEM. So you don't want to go on any of the other links except for our CS4NV, and then choose the state advocacy drop down there. If you go to advocacy on anything except underneath CS4NV, you will jump back into the STEM Hub parent site. Okay, so just make sure you stay on CS4NV and then choose state advocacy. Very confusing, I know. I wish it was different, but we are happy to have a home, so I am not complaining. All right, so that kind of is the Senate Bill 200 effective dates and the changes that are coming into place. And I encourage you to look over that at your leisure in more detail, and go take a look at the bill if you're so inclined to read through that. One of the other tabs I want to look at is our educators tab. So under CS4NV educators, let's go there. And I am building this out every day. I've got some PD opportunities broken down by elementary, middle, and high school. So I'll click on middle school at this point. So like I said before, we have our computer science discoveries course that is in full swing. There are a few cohorts going on down here in the south as well as up in the north. And this is for a middle school course. This would cover, when we talk about the standards, which we haven't yet, I will say that I'll just talk about that right now. So with the computer science standards, our K-12 computer science standards, our elementary K through 5 is broken down by grade level. So kindergarten has its own standards, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Then when you get to middle and high school, they're grade banded, 6 through 8, 9 through 12. So our 6 through 8 middle school standards, if you are teaching computer science discoveries, will cover most, if not all, of those standards in this one-year course. You get a free summer workshop 1 week, and then you get 4 one-day follow-up workshops throughout each quarter. And then there is no cost for the curriculum. There's links to the curriculum here. It's out on code.org, and so you can check that out. And there are some districts that are looking at this course to help build that 50% instruction of that half credit computer science and applications course. So our half credit former computer literacy. So check this out. I would encourage you. There are 6 units in there, and they're modular, so you can pull out what you need to satisfy the upcoming standards subset that will be out shortly. But this will help you at least get started on building that 50% computer science computational thinking instruction. Okay. From the high school vantage, again, we have our training for computer science principles. That's currently going to take place this summer. It's, again, a week-long summer workshop, 4 one-day follow-up workshops. It's free. The curriculum is free. It's through RPDP. I will say with both the discoveries and the computer science principles, if you take these workshops and you teach the course all year, you've had those follow-up workshops, you will get a certificate at the end and potential credits that can be through UNLV. RPDP is offering that at a very, very reduced rate, and that will satisfy for one of the course requirements for the licensing that I'll talk about in just a minute. So, I mean, that is a nice feature that's coming up. And then you also have these others. And if you know of any registrations coming up for these, for different professional development that you know about out there, then please shoot me an email and I'll be happy to add them on there. And yes, it does say that it closed on March 30th. However, they are working with us, so if we can't get you in a cohort with our RPDP at the state, there are other neighboring states and other options and opportunities to get you trained for this next school year. So please reach out to Glenn. The link is right there, and if you have any problems, please let me know, and I will find a place for you. All right, so let's go down. Let's jump down to the next one, the new licensing requirements. Okay. So I will first say that if you are already teaching your computer literacy course, if you're already teaching your computer science principles course, for example, if you're already teaching your CTE pathway, then you are fine. Continue doing so. You don't need any additional endorsements to your license to do that. Of course, as the changes are happening with our half credit course, I would definitely encourage you to get some training, perhaps signing up for that discoveries course, seeing how you could infuse some of that computer science and computational thinking into your class that you currently teach. All right, so on the books right now, there are 3 endorsements to teach computer science. Those are going down to 2. The first one is going to be called the Endorsement to Teach Computer Science and Applications. You can see the name is in alignment with that course, which is very helpful to keep straight. So in order to receive this endorsement, you need a total of 9 semester hours of coursework. So 1 in methods for teaching computer science, another in computer science concepts, and then another one in methods to teach computer applications to include these items, keyboarding techniques, word processing, and so forth. So this is, once again, for new teachers coming in. So if you know of anyone who wants to get this endorsement, this is what they would need. I will say that the concepts course, if you take the discoveries or the principles that I just spoke of, and you go through the process to get the UNLV credit, that will take care of this concepts course. And RPDP is offering the methods and the concepts course this coming fall. They are working on getting the computer applications course through, and they will have that also this fall. That's right, I spoke with them 2 days ago. So these 3 will be offered in the fall. I can also say that I've spoken with Toro University, and they also have an online course that will be a block of courses that will be starting in the fall that will comprise all of these. And so you could potentially take that block of courses and get endorsed for both, or just take the classes that you need. So our universities are stepping up to support our teachers, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. The second endorsement is to teach advanced computer science. So primarily the CTE pathway. So you need the 12 semester hours of coursework, 3 in methods, 3 in concepts. Notice that those are the same as up here. So we've got a tiered approach happening. If you've taken these 2 here, then 2 more, you can get another endorsement here. Trying to make it as easy as possible for our teachers, but yet that you have the rigor and the support that you need to be successful in these courses. So adding to those 2 courses, you would need 6 semester hours, so 2 more courses on instructing in computer programming languages. Or the option that was added is that you can take and successfully pass the praxis exam in computer science, and then you don't need to take these 12 semester hours at all, as long as you pass that. All right, so these are in the process of ratification. Like I said, the COPS meeting, they approved it to move forward. That commission did, and so these are reference purposes only at this point as they go through the regulatory phase. But I think you'll see that they're in alignment. They are tiered to help our teachers who would like to advance possibly. They've taken the computer science principles training, for example, and so they're just teaching that course. And their principal has approached them about possibly teaching the CTE pathway, and they're like, well, yeah, I have 2 of these under my belt, then maybe I will consider going on. So that was the idea behind this tiered approach. I have a question. Does the new naming affect those who already have computer science or computer programming endorsements? Absolutely not. If you're already teaching it and you're already licensed, you already have those endorsements, it will not go back and change any of that. It's just moving forward with new teachers. So thank you for that question. Are there any other questions about this? Any of this? We're doing okay out there? I hope so. All right, the last link here is for the computer science standards. I've got the links to the full version as well as the condensed version. Full version has, like I said, K5 is broken down by grade level, and then the secondary is broken down by grade band. The condensed version is in a table, so you can see the progression of concepts across all the grade levels. So it kind of put it in a little perspective for you. Also on this full version, what's a nice thing that Nevada did that the other states have not, however, they are copying us, is that we have connections to the Nevada academic content standards. So if you are working on this computer science standard, you can look down at the connections and see that, oh, I'm also hitting math standard XYZ and science as well. So you can align those with other subject areas that you're already teaching and infuse it in your subject area. All right. Ooh, a lot of information. I know. Hang in there with me. All right. So with the standards, these are the 5 major concepts I mentioned earlier: algorithms and programming, computing systems, data and analysis, impacts of computing, and networks and the internet. So as you can see, it's more than just coding. It's more than just programming. This is having a foundational understanding of the digital age, the computing that is taking place around us. And those are the sub-concepts that you can see as well. So what is computer science and what isn't it? I hear this all the time. Computer science is understanding why and how computers work, creating programs rather than just using them. Okay, so, and there's some examples right there. The impact that computing has on society, simulating disease spread, using models, creating models, creating interactive data visualizations. Big data is huge right now. As we know, data is collected constantly. Being able to use algorithms, which is a term for following step-by-step instructions to complete a task. By using these algorithms, we can create models and simulate the possibility of where disease can spread and how we can intervene and make sure that that doesn't happen. So this is the creating part. What computer science is not is using computers to perform everyday tasks such as keyboarding, using the internet, creating a PowerPoint, editing photo and movies, or using apps that are created by someone else. So this is where our technology portion comes into play. And remember, we have these two tiers right here. These two go hand in hand. We're not getting rid of those tech standards. We need to know how to use apps that other folks have created. We need to know how to use the technology proper in our digital citizenship and so forth. But on the same token, we need to know at a very young age how to protect our password, how to create a good password, for example, and all those foundational issues that our students, even 10 years ago, it wasn't a big issue. Now it is. This is the world that they live in. So those two go hand in hand. All right, so we talked about that already. Here's just a breakdown on this slide that talks about those changes to the regulations that I spoke about. This is what the changes to 450 look like, changing the name from use of computers to computer science and applications. These are the concepts in there, and removing some of the antiquated things such as processing business information and so forth. All right. So what the standards do I teach for the new computer science application semester course? I kind of touched on that there will be a subset of the K-12 computer science standards and the K-12 technology standards. Okay, so those are coming soon. All right, so this is what a suggested pathway would look like. So even beginning in kindergarten, they have those standards that will be taught in their classrooms, in their computer labs. A lot of those standards at the young age can be done unplugged, so they don't have to be on the computer to get those foundational standards or foundational computer science concepts across. For example, when I was talking with the elementary educators, when they do Old MacDonald Had a Farm, they teach the young students that song. They can introduce the fact or the concept of looping, so repeating back a string of an instruction, and as well as functions, which is a group of instructions that perform a task, and repeatedly it will always do that task, and that would be akin to a chorus. So calling a chorus and repeating that over and over. So these are things and concepts that can be taught without a computer. But for secondary down here, just a suggested pathway that, computer science and applications is your half-credit course. Perhaps that's taught in 6th grade, perhaps it's 7th or 8th. I know that folks in the districts that teach it in the middle school, it's kind of a jumping board for students that are interested in it and want to go on. So some of them put the computer science discoveries in here, or another equivalent offering that your district decides that they would like to give. And then, like I said, there are many schools now that are changing to have AP Computer Science Principles as that course that all 9th graders take, that foundational course that prepares them for everything beyond that. And then those students that choose to progress from there can then enter the CTE pathway as their elective courses. So that's just a suggested pathway. Obviously, in your districts and your schools, you will have different resources available to you. So you have to speak to your district specifically about that. But this course right here, AP Computer Science Principles, being the for all course, will also satisfy Section 2 of the bill that we talked about, the high schools having to offer a computer science course. All right. Any questions about that? No? All right. As we know, the most optimal way for computer education and technology, the computer science and the ed tech, to be implemented is for students to learn these concepts and build upon them year after year. They need practice. They need time to internalize and digest that. So multiple points of instruction has been proven more effective at long-term learning and retention than just that one-stop shop approach where everything is put in one course, taught in 1 year, typically what we've done in the past. So like I said, that first time they ever experience computer science may not be till high school. Okay, so they take the course, they try to get through it. Yep, done. Check that box. And so we hope that we will move forward, building upon all of these layers as we go. All right. So I already talked about the STEMhub site. There's lots of resources on there, and it's changing daily as I add things. The proposed timeline for the FY19 grant, it's currently open right now. You can go out to this grants page if you want to see what the application looks like that your districts are working on. It closes at the end of this month so that it can go through all the many layers of processes and then be able to be in the hands of your districts by July 1st. All right, this is just a graph of the allocation that happened for FY18. All right, so resources for you. Computer Science Teachers Association, that nationally recognized association that developed the standards for the nation, they have given us a charter for us to start a chapter for our states. So we have our first ever Silver State chapter, and it is throughout the state. Here's a list of our board members and their emails as well. And I will post this slide deck on the Nevada STEM Hub site for you so that you can reach out to them. But it's a free membership. It's for all folks in the state because as you can see, K-12 computer science is touching just about everyone. And so I encourage you to reach out to them and to see what you need to join. They have a website, so you can Google that and go out there, but they offer mentors for you to help inform instruction in your classes, resources. They meet regularly. They hope to have a repository of resources available, lessons and so forth that throughout the state that we can share and help each other as we inform these new regulations. The STEM Hub site, I don't know if you noticed at the top, there's an email join list. So if you would like to join on that, you will be able to get updates regularly moving forward as things change, because this is a very dynamic state of events. On the department site, there's also, in addition to the information I showed you, there's also frequently asked questions. You can go there. You don't know what you don't know. Maybe there's something you haven't thought about that you need to know. So there's a bunch of questions up there with answers. There will be guidance documents. There's also this Instructional Materials Resource Center. That's available right now with the other core areas, math, science, ELA, and social studies, and they'll soon be adding core resources for computer science. ISTE is a great resource with the computational thinking as you incorporate that into your half-credit course, And this resource book is also a wonderful way to get you started if you're so inclined and need some extra resources. All right, and then I also have some different things that you can do with the students. They're not curriculum with the exception of discoveries, but a lot of them are some fun things to get them started with coding and so forth. All right. Also, one last thing, we've got the Nevada Computer Science Summit that's coming up. This is going to be host to select teams from our K-12 school districts, public charter schools, and our higher ed institutions will also be sending representatives, because what we do here at the K-12 level is informing change at the post-secondary. So they're very interested in what we are doing here. So they're going to be at the summit as well. Dr. Canavero, the state superintendent, is going to be talking about computer science in Nevada and the changes and where we stand on statistics and so forth. We're also going to have our national representative from code.org talk about what's happening in the nation in computer science and where Nevada fits in all of that. And there will be other resources in breakouts to help you implement these regulations. So please reach out to your district representatives to see if you can get on that team that's coming. And we would love to have as many of you as we can. All right, and then finally, the K-12 computer technology standards that we currently have based on the ISTE standards, those are dated back in 2010, which is dinosaur years for technology. So those are going to begin revisions in this fall. So please reach out to me if you would like to be a part of that team. I'll make sure that you personally get an application invited to fill that out and to be part of this team. I would love to have folks from throughout the state. If there are funds available through the SB 200 FY19 funding, they would definitely be used for this professional development opportunity. And again, that would be revising this portion of the computer education technology subject area. All right, so that is everything in a nutshell. Do you have any lingering questions, concerns? If you want to have a meltdown, that's fine too. I am here for you. I've got great shoulders. But please, anything that you want to discuss involving all of this, any way that I can help you. Okay, so just to verify, if we're currently a computer literacy teacher this year, next year we'll be teaching computer science and applications. That is correct. So reach out to your district leads, the ones who are over curriculum, and they can help you. They'll inform you on where they are in the structure of that course as we move forward. Again, the advisory subcommittee is putting together the standards that would inform that course, and so they haven't gotten those out to them yet, but they will. Where can we watch this again? You're going to need a rerun to process. Oh, I know, right? There is so much information. I'm going to post the slide deck and this recording, as well as all the other recordings that I've been doing on the STEM Hub site. So they will be on there. Look for those there. Okay. All right. Colleen, you are most welcome. I hope this was informative for you, that you were able to see the bigger picture in what's going on and how it affects you. Let's see, I have a question. Can I please go over how to attend this conference again? Yes. So you want to go to attend this summit that's coming up right here. They're coming in teams from the district. Ideally, there will be some strategic planning time for the district. So ideally, I hope to see folks from what I'm calling the towers to the trenches. So those folks who are superintendents, district leads, that level that have that 30,000 foot view, down to our administrators in elementary, middle, and high, our counselors, our educators at elementary, middle, and high. So from that have that one-on-one perspective because the more broad and full that team is, the better they will be able to inform strategy for their districts. So please reach out to your district folks on getting on that team. Okay, thank you. That's a great question. Josie, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Are there any more questions? I don't want to hold you up any further. We went a little bit over. If you do have any more questions after we're done, you watch it again. I'll probably have it posted early next week. Please reach out to me. I'll put my information up here again. I am available to help you as much as I can and in any way that you need. If I can't, I will find somebody who can. And you are most welcome. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope this was very helpful. All right, have a good rest of your evening. Take care. Bye-bye.